In the quiet room, silver moonlight filtered through the window, casting a faint glow over the two beds. Rian leaned over, propping himself up on his elbow, and looked at his best friend. "Hey." Rian hesitated for a moment, then asked with curiosity, "Are you popular with the ladies? The family's witches must be upset." Shirone, lying on his back, staring at the ceiling, only responded with a confused, "Huh?" "Never mind." Rian waved his hand, smiling it off. After a moment, Shirone suddenly spoke, changing the subject. "Is Raina doing well? Having such a kind older sister must be nice." A distant look flickered in his blue eyes, as he had grown up alone in solitude. Ahem. "Well, I guess so." Rian cleared his throat, seeming a little embarrassed by the kind remark. He quickly steered the conversation in another direction, his eyes gleaming with eagerness. "Anyway, your companion, is she pretty?" "Huh?" Shirone was once again bewildered by the sudden question. He thought for a moment and then calmly replied, "Yeah, she's very pretty." "What? She's actually pretty?" Rian shot up, his composure vanished, replaced by extreme excitement. He spoke rapidly with an urgent expression. "Don't celebrate yet, she might reject me. You have to convince her to come with me, okay?" Completely overwhelmed by his friend's over-the-top reaction, Shirone could only stammer his agreement. "Okay." A few days later.
Under the clear blue sky and towering mountain range, Shirone promised his family, "We'll be back." Before he departed, Olina approached with a gentle smile while Vincent stood with his arms crossed behind her. She finally said, "Shirone, take this with you." Shirone asked in surprise, "Yes? What is it, mother?" In Olina's palm was a meticulously woven lucky charm made from four-leaf clovers, radiating a warm glow. She explained, "I made a charm from four-leaf clovers. Do you remember?" Memories suddenly flooded Shirone's mind, taking him back to his childhood. He remembered the day his mother, Olina, fell ill with a high fever, lying delirious in bed. When she awoke, she was stunned to find her young son asleep beside the bed, and her husband Vincent had also dozed off in a chair from exhaustion. But what surprised her most was that the entire bed was covered by a lush green carpet of countless four-leaf clover branches. She whispered to herself, recalling that touching moment, "When I collapsed with a high fever, you picked all the four-leaf clovers on this mountain."
Shirone smiled softly, looking at the small green four-leaf clover-shaped woolen ornament in his hand. It turned out his mother still remembered. He had used Spirit Zone to search all over the mountains that day. In a moment of warmth, Vincent and Olina embraced their son tightly. Olina gently instructed, "This is the first time you're going so far from home, so you must return safe and sound." Vincent stood beside her, his eyes filled with pride and affection. Shirone laughed at his parents' concern. "Haha, I'm just going to a friend's house to play. I'm not leaving until tomorrow." Standing by the wooden fence nearby, Rian smiled as he watched the scene, thinking to himself that Shirone's personality really resembled both of them. Olina turned and gently pressed something into Ryan's hand. "Young Master Rian, this is for you." Ryan was a little flustered but happily accepted it. "Thank you very much. Please don't be so polite." He raised aloft a four-leaf clover charm identical to Shirone's and declared resolutely, "Don't worry, as Shirone's knight, I will definitely protect him." A gentle and relieved smile bloomed on Olina's lips. She lightly placed her hand on her chest, silently entrusting, "Shirone, I'm counting on you, young master." In the air, the green woolen lucky charm quietly glowed, carrying with it love and a promise of protection for the upcoming journey.
In the kingdom of Thormia, the Karmis family always held a very special position. They were the leading noble lineage, renowned not for power or warfare, but for the outstanding innate talents. Descendants of this family inherited a unique ability related to memory, called Crimson Eyes, granting them the ability to learn 10 times faster than ordinary people. However, they disregarded political power and instead pursued freer and more whimsical paths. The family tradition always emphasized the uniqueness of each individual, so the members of the Karmis house all became masters in their own fields, from painting and music to cuisine. They were respectively called Stars of the Continent. Under the brilliant sunlight, Shirone Arian stood before the large, magnificent iron gates of the Karmis residence. In one hand, he carried a leather briefcase, and in the other, a basket of plump red apples. Simple gifts compared to the grandeur of the building behind him. He took a deep breath, a feeling of anxiety rising in his chest. "I didn't make an appointment, so I came straight here," Shirone thought to himself, his eyes showing a hint of embarrassment. "But what if she's not home? Am I just going to stand here and wait for her to return?" His hesitation did not escape the eyes of the two guards standing in the shadows of the guardhouse. They quietly observed the strange young man. After a moment of hesitation, Shirone decided to speak up to attract their attention. His small call startled the two soldiers. "Ah." They turned around simultaneously, their surprised eyes fixed on Shirone.
Beneath the imposing stone archway, Shirone faced two guards. The older one with the white mustache inquired, "Excuse me, but who are you?" Shirone calmly replied, "I am Shirone. Is Amy here? I'm a friend of hers from the Magic Academy." "Ah, I see," the older guard responded, but in his mind he scoffed. A friend, is it? Another fly buzzing around the young lady the moment vacation starts. He must be pretty confident in his looks. Even royalty can't get in here, you know." Despite his internal mockery, he remained professional, turning to Shirone and saying, "I'll go check, just a moment." Immediately afterward, he spun around, his eyes sharp and cold as he looked at the younger guard beside him. "Hey, go check," he ordered in a stern voice. Seeing the young soldier still rooted to the spot, trembling and sweating profusely, he snapped, "What are you doing? I told you to go check." The young soldier stammered in panic, Yes, sir." However, he still couldn't move. The older guard's gaze shifted from irritation to confusion as he caught a glimpse of a rider speeding away on the distant paved road. A feeling of unease crept into his mind. What's wrong with him? That kid. Something's very different.
The young man looked up, the thought flashing through his mind. Could he be a disciple of some prestigious family? From the watchtower, the hesitant voice of the commander spoke. May I ask which family you belong to? Before he could finish, a loud shout interrupted his question. Commander! A knight was galloping towards the gate. The commander looked surprised to see the soldier return. Oh, you're back. The knight breathlessly asked, his voice full of confusion. Commander, what's going on? Didn't she say she was busy today? Then he pointed behind him, his voice full of astonishment. She told him to go inside. The commander was stunned. He knew it. He had to come up with some plausible excuse to avoid a conflict. For a moment, he imagined Chief Butler Adeal bowing an apology. But the reality was the complete opposite. His face changed color, and his hat flew off his head as he shouted, What? The knight confirmed firmly, It's true! Just then, the clatter of wheels echoed. A luxurious carriage, pulled by two magnificent white horses, was approaching. As the carriage door opened, Adeal, the family's chief butler, stepped out and declared loudly, It was Lady Amy herself who ordered him to be escorted. Sweat poured down the commander's forehead, his face blank, completely not understanding what was happening. His mind was empty, leaving only one question. What on earth is going on?
Before the imposing, intricately carved iron gates of a magnificent mansion, Shirone involuntarily exclaimed in astonishment. Two guards with ostentatious expressions shouted in unison, Welcome to the Karmis Manor. At that moment, a luxurious carriage came to a stop. A corpulent man in impeccable butler attire stepped out. With a gentle smile and composed manner, he said, Welcome, I am the head butler, Adeal. Shirone, with the bright expression, cheerfully replied, I'm Shirone. He secretly sighed in relief, so she is home. What a relief. Meanwhile, the two guards behind him whispered to each other in surprise, wondering if there was a special event they didn't know about, to the point where the head butler himself had to personally greet the guest. After the greeting, Adeal approached Shirone, his expression becoming slightly more serious. He placed his hand on his chest and said, This may seem a bit abrupt, but before I bring you into the manor, there is something I need to confirm. Shirone looked slightly bewildered. What is it? Adeal looked him straight in the eye, his voice still polite but resolute. I want to confirm your identity, to make sure that you are indeed Shirone. Shirone's cheerful expression froze, his blue eyes widening in astonishment. He stammered, What? The head butler calmly explained. The young lady instructed this, If it is Shirone, bring him here.
Knocked to the hard earth before the mansion's imposing iron gates, Shirone looked up at Adeal's tall figure blocking out the sun. The head butler stood sternly, his gaze fixed upon him. Adeal said evenly, without emotion, That is why I interpreted the young mistress's words in this manner. Only let him in if he is Shirone. Shirone was stunned, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead as he recalled Amy's echoing voice. Shirone, if it's Shirone there, just let him in. He almost screamed in desperation. That's just how Amy talks. Are you really going to interpret it so originally? Confirm my identity? How are you going to do that? Adeal narrowed his eyes slightly, his attitude remaining steadfast and cold. Then it seems I cannot, he replied, his voice filled with authority. I have a duty to confirm the identities of those who intend to enter, and I have full authority to do so. Faced with such unshakable resolve, Shirone was completely bewildered, only able to stammer, What? But he stared blankly into space, a feeling of helplessness washing over him. But then, the bewilderment quickly faded, giving way to a fierce determination. His eyes flashed with a mystical blue light, and a powerful surge of magical power began to pour forth, enveloping his body.
An overwhelming sense of suffocation suddenly engulfed Shirone, as if he were being submerged in the cold, deep ocean. The surging water surrounded them, constricting his chest and making it impossible to breathe. He frantically struggled in vain. What? I can't breathe. It feels like every organ in my body is being twisted. Amidst the pain, the glimmer of awareness flashed in his mind. The deep blue ocean scene vanished, replaced by an oppressive crimson space. No way, is this some kind of neurointerference chemo technique? Looking up, he saw Adeal's face, his eyes emitting a menacing bloodshot glow. Under that invisible pressure, Shirone's body seemed to sink even further. In reality, they were standing in the middle of a large paved courtyard. Behind them, a luxurious carriage was waiting. Adeal stood there, majestic in his demeanor, simply staring at Shirone. Observing from a distance, one of the two men accompanying Adeal expressed astonishment. The eye technique, oppression, a terrifying technique that can directly transmit repressed emotions into the opponent.
In the vast expanse beneath the lush greenery, Shirone stood facing Adeal. The head butler looked at the boy before him, a moment of hesitation flashing through his mind. Using this method to punish us, and applying it to a child? Isn't that too cruel? However, the thought was quickly dismissed, replaced by a light hum and a smug smile on his plump face. A bead of cold sweat rolled down Shirone's temple. He felt an invisible pressure weighing him down, but his blue eyes still shone with determination, looking directly at his opponent despite his body struggling. Adeal seemed surprised by the boy's endurance. He's still holding on. The butler took a long breath, his expression becoming more serious. I didn't want to use this much power, but immediately, a surge of blue magical energy erupted from Adeal. A massive block of water, bubbling and swirling, suddenly formed and engulfed Shirone's entire body. Submerged in a magical current, he was unable to resist. His body went limp and he began to sink. Shirone's small body slowly floated and then sank deep into the dark abyss, leaving only strings of bubbles silently rising to the surface.
Submerged in a dark, undefined space, Shirone felt an immense pressure bearing down on every fiber of his being. He clutched at his collar, struggling to keep himself from falling apart. Stay calm, he told himself in his chaotic mind. These are just emotions. I can control them. Gradually, his desperate struggle subsided. Shirone relaxed his grip, letting his body float in the deep void. Faint light from above illuminated his serene face as he accepted and overcame the undertow trying to engulf him. Back in reality, under the warm sunlight of the garden, Adeal stood frozen, his eyes narrowed in astonishment. What? That was my strongest suppression, and he can withstand it? Facing him, Shirone stood firm as a rock. Sweat beaded on his temples, but his clear blue eyes remained unwavering and steadfast. His hands were clenched at his sides, braced to resist the invisible pressure. Adeal's expression grew complex, his initial confidence replaced by an unsettling doubt. He growled inwardly, "Mere endurance alone can't withstand that. If he can, then he must either be a fool or a monk who has attained the Vajra vehicle." A flash of ominous red light flickered in the depths of his eyes as he reevaluated the extraordinary young man before him.
Within Adeal's chaotic mind, the image of Shirone surfaced as an entity enveloped in a fiery, unpredictable red energy. The old butler couldn't help but shudder, sweat breaking out as the thoughts swirled within him. Is he a mage or a madman? What on earth is that boy hiding inside his body? The luxurious carriage rolled steadily along the tree-lined road, carrying them back to the mansion. Sitting on the soft leather bench, facing Shirone, Adeal bowed his head, his face looking utterly distressed. His voice was full of remorse. "I am truly sorry. Please reprimand this old man for his disrespect. For the sin of not recognizing you, I am willing to accept any punishment." Shirone, with a surprised expression, asked back, "Wasn't it because the family members were suspicious of me?" Tears began to stream down Adeal's round cheeks as he looked up. He hastily waved his hands. "No, I made this decision all on my own. The head of the family did not impose any conditions whatsoever." "Why?" Shirone exclaimed, in confusion, completely baffled. The old butler explained, his voice a little embarrassed, "Because this is the first time Miss Amy has brought a man home. I wanted to see for myself." Shirone leaned back in his seat, a sudden realization flashing through his mind. So that's it. He suddenly understood everything. The image of the butler happily tossing a red-haired little girl into the air flashed through his mind. Like a grandfather doting on his granddaughter, he thought to himself, finally understanding the strange behavior of the man before him.
Sitting in the luxurious carriage, Shirone couldn't help but think, even the guards and the head butler treat me like this. Just how much does her family love her? He turned to the butler sitting across from him, sweat beading on his forehead, and confessed, "I'm suddenly feeling really nervous." Adeal, the head butler, chuckled kindly, the gentle smile deepening the wrinkles around his eyes. "Haha, you don't need to worry so much. It's just, it might exceed your expectations." Just as he finished speaking, the carriage clattered under the gravel path, entering a boulevard lined with lush greenery. At the end of the road, a massive and magnificent mansion gradually came into view, majestic under the morning sun. Overwhelmed by the sight, Shirone could only gasp softly. In a lavish room filled with sunlight, Amy was resting on a bed with an intricately carved headboard. The sound of carriage wheels in the distance startled her awake. She quickly sat up, her fiery red hair cascading around her, her eyes widening as she looked out the window with a mixture of doubt and hope. Her hands gripped the bed frame, her heart pounding as she whispered, "He's here? Really?"